how to make my Bailey's loaf cake, the perfect delicious cake for the festive season. Hello everybody and welcome back to my YouTube channel where we are continuing the festive bakes, even though yes, I know it's November, but I have so many festive bakes to get through. I thought I would start earlier than December. And today we are doing one of the best beauties in the world, which involves Bailey's, which is my Bailey's loaf cake. This cake is rich, fudgy, delicious, full of Bailey's. It's perfect for the festive season, for a celebration, or you know, if you just like Bailey's. So it's a delicious bake. It's got a sort of a chocolate fudgy base loaf cake, and then deliciously smooth chocolate frosting with Bailey's inside, truffles on top. There's all sorts going on. So I know you're gonna love it too. Like any fudge cake that I do, they always start off with some melted butter and some dark chocolate. It's always important to use dark chocolate over milk chocolate for the perfect fudgy texture, as you need the cocoa content from the chocolate. And of course, when it comes to the butter for this part, you can use a baking spread or block butter. Either work really, really well. Sometimes you really have to trust the process, and if you're not a coffee lover, trust me, please still use the coffee. This is just some instant strong coffee that just increases the flavour of the chocolate, but the cake doesn't taste like coffee at the end. Then I have some really strong cocoa powder. I like to use 100% cocoa powder because it's got extra flavour, but any work. And then we have our raising agents of bicarb and baking powder as well. I use 3 medium eggs in this sponge, but you could get away with 3 large because of the way the sponge works. Either works really, really well. I have some light brown soft sugar because I love the flavour, but you could use caster sugar, golden caster sugar, even dark brown soft sugar if you preferred. Then we actually have some plain flour here. You don't want to use self-raising, you want plain because the raising agent comes from Bailey's with lemon in and the raising agents that we've added in earlier on. And then of course we have some Bailey's here. This looks a little bit disgusting at the minute, as this is replicating the buttermilk that I usually put in the recipe. So this is some Bailey's with some lemon juice added in, which will be in the recipe in the description box below. And then, you know, this will have boiling water in it, but I wanted it to be fresh, so it's just an empty jug. So to start off, I'm gonna add my dark chocolate to a bowl, and then I'm gonna add in my butter as well. And then I'm gonna melt these until smooth. I do this in the microwave, but you can do it over a pan if you wanted, but I find the microwave easier. Then as soon as this is ready, we're gonna add our coffee dissolved in the water and just stir it all together. Often you're told when you're baking especially that you can't add water to chocolate, but because we've melted the chocolate with the butter and then added the coffee mixture in, you stir it until it's smooth and it's luxuriously smooth and perfect, so don't worry about that. But once you have made this mixture, you want to leave this to cool slightly for about 10 minutes so it doesn't melt the rest of your mixture. But after that, when you're making a sponge like this, you really don't need a mixer for this bit. Like, I'm gonna use this for my decoration later on, but I just grab a big bowl because all you want to do is add your dry ingredients together, mix them until combined because this prevents any lumps later on. Add in your chocolate mixture, then your eggs and your Bailey's buttermilk, mix until lovely, runny and smooth, and then you can pour it into your lined tin. Trust me, it's so easy. If you use a mixer, it might just splash everywhere, and the whole point of this one is it's so easy to mix together, you don't want to over mix it, as that might cause a problem with the baking later on. So now I'm just gonna mix my dry ingredients together. I'm just gonna start this by adding my brown sugar to my large bowl. Again, you can use a different sugar if you prefer. And then I'm gonna add in my plain flour as well. I'm just gonna mix literally all of the dry ingredients together because it prevents any of the flour or sugar lumps later on once you add the liquids. And then I'm gonna add my cocoa powder, my bicarbonate of soda, and my baking powder. And then I'm literally just gonna use my spatula to mix these together. Now this mixture is cooled for about 10 minutes, I'm gonna pour it into my dry mixture. I'm just gonna stir this with my spatula, and as you can see, it's coming together really easily. And now finally, I'm adding in my eggs, and then the slightly gross looking Bailey's mixed with lemon juice. Honestly, trust the process. And then again, I'm just gonna mix these together carefully with my spatula until the mixture is smooth and combined. Now that my mixture is ready, I've grabbed my £2 loaf tin, just with a loaf tin liner inside. And as I say in every loaf recipe ever that I've ever made, you've got to keep an eye on your loaf tin because these can vary in size. It's really annoying, but it does happen. So make sure to only fill this 2/3 full, and then we can bake in our preheated oven. Mine is set to 160 fan, you know, it could be 180 regular, and this takes about an hour to bake. So it's quite a long bake, but trust the process. Line your loaf tin, and then we're ready. So now we bake. Now that my sponge is baked, you can see I've cooled it in the tin just because generally I find this easier. You can take it out of the tin, but it's a very delicate sponge where it is a fudge cake sponge. So mine's in my tin, fully cool. So we're gonna make the buttercream now. And this is a simple buttercream of 4 ingredients of unsalted butter, icing sugar, cocoa powder, and of course, Baileys. In this recipe, I have just used the classic Baileys, and there are so many flavors of Baileys now. All of them are absolutely delicious. Tiramisu one was probably one of my favorites. But the issue with using the flavored ones in the bake is that extra flavor probably won't come through as strongly as if you just used the classic Baileys. So I always recommend it. This is usually on offer, especially near Christmas, so grab the big bottle whilst you can. It's what I do every single time. So yeah, we're just gonna make a simple Baileys buttercream frosting and then slather it all over the sponge, decorate a little bit more, and you have the perfect festive, deliciously chocolate Baileys loaf cake. I'm starting by adding my unsalted butter to a bowl. This is just block butter at room temperature instead of a baking spread. So I'm just gonna beat this on its own at first to make it really smooth before adding anything else. Now I'm gonna add in my cocoa powder, and then I'm gonna add my icing sugar as well. And then I'm just gonna pour in my Baileys. And there you have your Baileys buttercream frosting. Thick, smooth, delicious. This time I decided just to dollop my frosting on top and then slather it about. But of course you can pipe this delicious frosting on instead if you preferred. I like using a small little angled spatula like this to make this easier because it really does just guide the frosting really well. But of course you can just use the back of a spoon if you prefer. And now I'm just gonna add on some of my favorite sprinkles because, you know, it is the festive season and I have a weird sprinkle addiction. And then lastly, I'm just gonna add on some Baileys truffles because, you know, I'm just leveling it up slightly. But again, this is completely optional. I just like to take things a little bit too far. So this is how you make my Baileys loaf cake. Obviously, as you can see through that video, it was a really easy cake to make. The frosting is so thick and delicious and you just whack it through the mixer. You can use a hand mixer or do it by hand. You just need a bit of arm power. The cake mixture itself is so easy to make. And I know you're all gonna love this as much as I do. And trust me, I just tried the frosting again on my finger and it's packed full of the Baileys flavor. So definitely if you like Baileys, you're gonna like this cake as well. So make sure to check out the full recipe in the description box below. Give the video a thumbs up, give me a subscribe if you haven't already, and leave a comment below if you want to see any other festive bakes. But of course, this is the festive season. It's my favorite time for baking. I'm definitely going to be back next time with something super, super Christmassy as always. So I hope you enjoyed this video and I'll see you next time.